Hey guys, hey, come on up in here. I want to do this one more time. I am the Dancing Preacher, and this is my new platform, storytelling. And I just want to stop by on tonight. It's not about no religion. It's all about the hood, growing up in the projects. I grew up in the projects, those that don't know, and the projects in Brooklyn. And I just want to share some stories about my life when I was using an addiction. Now I got sobriety, 25 years, but I want to take you in my world, in the hood, things that I did when I was out there using active addiction. And I had some good days and some bad days. So those that don't know me, I don't know you. Some probably see me dancing, but it's not about religion tonight. It's all about real stuff that took place in my life. I'll be sharing some stories, some good stories, some horror stories, and some funny stories on tonight. So I'm gonna start off tonight with a couple of pieces that I want to share with you in my acted when I was using when I was acting and using at that time. Okay, again, welcome here. We're on storytelling. We're gonna be sharing some more stuff. I'll be sharing with you. It's funny, man, and some things that I experienced in my life. And I'm a survivor. 25 years of sobriety. Okay, enough of that. Listen here. Let me tell you a funny thing that happened to me in the projects when I was growing up. I mean, when I was using. And those that don't know, I loved alcohol at that time. I was using alcohol, and this happened one night. Um, I was in my house, right? I was at my mom's house in the projects, and I lived on the fifth floor at that time, right? And at that it was a cold. I think it was on a Saturday night. It was cold. It was like probably about 11 o'clock. I don't know. It was late, but I loved smoking weed. In them days, you used to smoke tray bags, and I smoked a tray bag joint, and I was smoking at that time when you can smoke weed and look at TV. You want the munchies, and I started having the munchies, and I would get some candy and stuff like that. And I turned on the honeymoons. I love the honeymoons, man. When I got high. So my thing is that it was so funny, man, that I was smoking my weed and I was smoking. And I was high. I was drinking my little Hennessy and all. I mean, not Hennessy at that time. Those that don't know, we drank Bacardi. Anyway, I remember, man, I got so high. I was in my mom's house, right? And I was smoking weed. And when you smoke weed, you start getting the munchies. I was smoking, and next thing I know, one thing is so funny. I was so high that I had the TV on, but the TV wasn't really high. It was low. But I'm thinking in my head, I was hallucinating. I thought it was like real loud. So I'm listening because that's what that weed had me paranoid. So I turned around. I was smoking weed that night, and next thing I know, man, I looked up, and my mother got pictures and stuff on her shelf. It seemed like, man, I was high. Honeymoons was going a TV show, and I looked like the pictures was coming off the shelf. And I said, oh man, I looked at this. I said, I put this thing down, put in the ashtray. I said some strong stuff. And next thing I know, man, I was hungry, and I had got some candy and potatoes, and I looked, and I had it all over my face, potatoes, and I left it. I didn't have no more candy or anything like that. And I was smoking that stuff, man, and I started feeling hungry again. And I don't know what it was, man. And as I watched the TV, something told me I was in my mom's house, right? And my mom's in the bedroom, right? She's in the bedroom sleeping. She's in the bedroom looking at TV, whatever she was doing. And you know how moms have, you go to mom's crib in the projects, right? You know how they be dressed with their nightgown on, and they have, them rollers in their head and all that. My mom's, it was in her room, but it was funny, right? So I'm up here smoking and all I have. Any more potato chips or nothing, man? Like I'm saying, man, this movie looking good, Honeymoons. I love Ralph Crandall. And so I get up and go into the kitchen, man. I go up in the kitchen. This is a true story. I go to the kitchen, open my mother's refrigerator door, and in the butter bowl, right there in the butter bowl, there's where they keep the butter at, right? And she had this plastic cup, but they had 4 bars in it, like these little candy, look like Christmas candy bars. So I'm taking them, I'm dipping, I'm high, smoking the weed. I sit back down, I'm looking at the honeymooners and whatnot. The next thing you know, I open the candy up, and I'm like, it's good, cause we smoking the joint. I was smoking, and I'm like, man, shoot. I started chewing, Next thing I know, I was looking at the honeymoons and I'm hearing something go, like I'm hearing something go like, after a while I kept eating the pieces and I'm stunned, I'm sitting there looking at the honeymoon, drinking my Bacardi, smoking. Next thing I know, I hear something go, oh, like a noise. And I'm thinking it was Ralph Crandall. So I open it and I go close to the TV and I'm like, yo, I'm flipping, man. And so I sat back, I sat back and said, what is, turn the TV down? I said, what is this noise? So next thing I know, I hear some noise and and I sat back and I felt my stomach. I heard something. And I said, they said, "Buh," it's like making noise like a monster or something. So next thing I know, I said, what is this? And I kept hearing it, and it was me. Something's going on in around in my stomach. So I'm so messed up. I started, I started running. I started running to the bathroom, and when I ran to the bathroom, right, I ran to the bathroom. I'm on the toilet like this, man. I'm saying to myself, what's going on? So I'm like getting paranoid now because I'm on the toilet, and next thing I know, I just started going, taking care of my business. Now I said, this is not normal. So I started calling my mother's name. So my mother walks up. My mother's come out the bath. My mother come out her bedroom and said, what is wrong with you, stupid? I said, call the ambulance quick because there's a problem. Call the ambulance, man. I can't stop. And I don't know what it was. And I said, she said, what did you eat? I said, I was eating some candy. She said, you always on that. You always she said, you always smoking that, cursing and profanity. And she had the rollers in her hair. You know how moms look at you when your mom, you don't want to laugh. You know how you don't want to laugh and your mom's looking at you and you like, you paranoid, but at the same time, she makes me laugh because the way my mother's in her 80s, you know what I mean? She's saying, what's wrong with you, stupid? You just like a stupid. And like, I'm like tickled laughing. Next thing you know, I said I ate something that was in the kitchen that you had inside the butter bowl. She said, "You so stupid. Those X-Lax." I said, "X-Lax." I started crying. Next thing I know, I started, God, call the ambulance. I said, Ma, I thought I ate too many because I don't know how. I thought you're supposed to eat one. She said, "How many you eat, stupid?" I said. No, because she made me like she said, how many you ate? I said, I ate four. She said, you so stupid, always smoking. You stupid. She said, you had no business taking eating it. So I ate it. Next thing I know, I got up. I said, Next thing I know, man, it was so embarrassed after I got up off the chair, man. After I got off the chair, man, I had to sit and I put that stuff. I said, man, I put that weed down and all that stuff. I was looking at the honeymooners, and I had to go back and forth to the bathroom all night. But what I'm saying to you, man, it is so funny, man, how we can do things when we intoxicated, And I say to this day, man, to this day, 25 years later, when I go in somebody's house. That's the first thing I'll be praying. I look at their refrigerator. I seen them gold bars, them little gold bars, candy. Don't touch them. Hear me? Don't touch them because they X-lax. And that's why I learned not to be touching stuff in your fit and people refrigerator. You don't know what it is. Stop touching stuff, especially if it's not if it's not your apartment. Be careful. Amen. So, man, it was so funny. So I can recall another funny joke that it was so funny. One night, I had a cigarette, and so I was in my mother's house. I have my own place too, but it's nothing like going to mom's house, man. After you've been drinking and you go check on your mom's, and chill, right? And so I sit there, and my son was there too, right? So check this out. I have smoked a cigarette. I didn't smoke cigarettes in years. Never really smoked it, but this time I wanted to smoke a cigarette. And you know how it's cold outside the projects, right? I come up there. I got me some blackberry brandy, and I'm sitting up there, man. The next thing I know, I want to light up a cigarette. I goes in the kitchen. You know how we in the projects. If those don't know the projects, we have stoves that when you go to the stove, it got to click like 4 or 5 times. So I hear a stove. I go in the kitchen, my mom's thing. I'm high off that black brandy. I go there, man, give it a light a cigarette, right? And I hear the thing go click, 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 and it said click, and I'm saying, God, it ain't lighting, it ain't lighting. So I go say, God, this stupid stove, and I go click, 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 and it's still light. Then it said click, 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 and something said poof. I said back to my desk. And I said it came on, the flames came right. So I take it, light the cigarette up, and I go like this, right? And I put the cigarette in my mouth, and I go back and sit on the couch, and I sit on the couch, and next thing I know, for some reason, I smelled this bad fire, like something was on fire. So I'm saying, what is this smell? So I'm like, hold up, it can't be this cigarette. So I thought I had burnt something in the kitchen. So I go back in the kitchen, I didn't see nothing. So I sat down. So I'm sitting there, and I took a little puff off the cigarette. That's when I tried to smoke a cigarette. And my son came, and my son said to me, he said, "What's that? What's that smell, man?" I said, "I don't know what that smell is." And so I was looking. He looked, because at that time I had off the light in the living room. He turned the light on. He said to me, he looked. He said, "Man, that's you. Your eyebrows on fire." My eyebrows was brown. My mustache was brown. It was me with that. It blew up my face. I went in the bathroom with the cigarette. I looked like a pure fool. That's why I say, man, liquor and alcohol do not, I mean, alcohol do not mix. And what I'm saying, it was so funny, I could have burnt myself up. And so my mother said, my mother came out, she said, do not touch her stove, don't touch nothing in this house. Because one thing about when you go to the projects, you always want to come visit moms. And she knows you drunk, you knows you're intoxicated. She be saying, one thing I want you to do, don't go in my refrigerator, and please don't go in my pot unless you wash your hand. Well, there were some stories that it was so funny. Like I said, in my action edition, I had some funny time and some crazy times. Now how we gonna back this thing up? Because this is storytelling, stuff that happened in the hood, truly that happened to me. So let me tell you this right here. This is not funny. This is really that happened, and I don't know what it is. I'm a person that to this day, I tell women, be careful, watch your surroundings. And one thing about, I have daughters, and one thing I tell them when they go out in the streets, watch your surrounding, man, because we got some sick people out here. You got people that's close to you that can be a rapist or child molester. You know what I mean? So we got to be real careful. And so this happened one particular night. Again, this happened again because I love going to my mom's house. Y'all probably say, why you don't stay home sometime? I do. I'm going to tell you some stuff about that too, but we didn't get to that. It's going to take some time in the future as I tell y'all this storytelling. Now, watch this. This is a serious thing, and I want people to pay attention to this. This is so scary. One night I was in my mom's house, and this ain't no funny. This ain't funny. This is real life. So I'm sitting there watching high, drinking. At that time, I ain't drink that much expensive drink. We had some Bacardi, I had some Bacardi, and I was drinking. Cause I love watching TV if I do come in intoxicated, or I listen to some music or something like that. But this particular time, I was sitting in my mother's room. It must have been on a Sunday, I think Saturday night, and I was chilling about 11 o'clock. It was like I had on the TV show watching me a good movie. It's nothing like a good movie when when you intoxicated. I go and turn the TV and watching my movie. So what happened? I heard this. I heard this loud sound. I heard this loud scream like somebody outside. Cause in the hood, I lived on the fifth floor, and it goes up to the sixth floor, and on top is the rooftop. So I'm looking out the window, and I'm looking this at night, and I see a friend of mine, and I see another friend, but I really couldn't see. I know it was her, but I didn't see her old man. But one thing about her and the old man, I don't want to use no name because they didn't give me permission to use the name. But it was real. It was like, I know that's what you call them, because one thing about the project, we knew the ones that always be in relationship, the ones that like to fight. So we already know the ones that do that, argue with each other. So I said, that's ain't them. That's my friends outside the projects, the ones that I grew up with, that they ain't gonna do nothing but they ain't gonna do nothing. They ain't doing nothing but arguing with one another. That's how I knew who that was. I said, they arguing with each other. I said, again, this time of night. So they messing up my high. You know what I mean? I was drinking and stuff. I said, so I sat back down and I was watching the movie, and I kept watching the movie, and then I heard this scream again, like, wow, what is this scream? And so I hear the scream, and it was loud. So I go back and look, and I see her, and he had his hand around her throat. That was her boyfriend taken up into my building when they live in the other building. And so I'm like, what is they coming into my building for? And I'm like sitting there saying, looking out the window, going looking at the window, I'm saying, that is weird. And so I said to myself, let me sit down, mind my business. So I figured they was coming in my building, they was gonna argue, her and her boyfriend, they gonna go back out the building. Come to find out, I sat back down, I was, smoking, drinking, and I was feeling good. Next thing I heard another loud scream, like I said, and then I look and I seen her slippers. I meant to tell that part when I was sharing this before. Her slippers, but he had about a throat taken in the building. So I'm saying if that was her man, why he took out her slippers and she must have had slippers and she walking up to the building. And I goes to myself and I say, this is not, something's wrong. So I sat back down. So I said, something told me to get up. So I sat back up again. I heard this noise. Don't you know what? I opened the door. My mom, first of all, my mother was in the room and laying down. My brother was in the other room because he was drinking that night. He was laying down, and we had the truth of the matter. We had some firearms in the house, some guns, and so I'll tell you that later on. But after I sat there, I sat back down. Something told me to open my door. When I opened my door, I heard this noise, and I can hear this brother when he was coming up the stairs. I hear him. It seemed like they was coming up the stairs. They have to pass the fifth floor to get to the rooftop. And so what happened that I said, oh, that ain't her boyfriend. I know her boyfriend. And she was saying, and I heard this man say out of his mouth, he said, shut up, shut up. When I get you upstairs, when I get you, shut up, be quiet, be quiet. And she was like, stop, okay, okay, okay. But it seemed like I think that her hand, he had her in a headlock, right? And her hand was around this part, but he had a knife. And I guess her hand was around the knife because he had the knife to her throat. And at the time, she must have tried to protect her Adam's apple because once you cut something, you're gonna cut and you're gonna cut your all the nerves in your finger. So I goes and said to myself, something ain't wrong. And I said, I'm trying to like nervous now. So I go run back into the door to go get my brother. He's up there drunk. He couldn't hear me. So I grabs the shotgun. So I runs out the house now. I'm high. Imagine a dude that's intoxicated would give him a gun. He all fall. I'm on the side and all this, you know what I mean? So my mom's in the room and she's saying, what's all that noise? I ran out. I didn't want to disturb her. I run out to the hallway, open the door. This guy's almost on the fourth floor. He's going to the floor. I'm on the fifth now. He's coming up. I hear him say, shut up. And the next thing you know, when they was coming up that round circle coming up, that girl jumped on me. So she jumped. This dude was a different face and she screamed so hard, jumped on me. And before she could scream, he must have ripped her hand. And she screamed so loud, so I guess she must have breathed up the nerves in her hand. The girl, my friend, she jumped on me. It was blood everywhere. I was so bloody, man. I had to move her out the way. I'm trying to move out there. I got you, babe. She said, she calling my name. At that time, they called me Kenny. They said, Kenny, Kenny, oh my God, help me, help me. She was so hysterical. So I goes and got her like this, and I'm moving off me trying to get him. So I pull her to the side. I'm running down the stairway, and I'm bloody. And he goes out around that way. I'm chasing him. He goes out through the back way, because we always have the back door open in the projects. If I don't know for what reason, we never lock it. And so I'm running. I couldn't get a shot at him. So he runs out the back door. And I'm trying to get an aim. I'm bloody. I'm nervous. And you know me, you intoxicated. I'm supposed to be walking down the stairs. I'm falling down 3 stairs, and all this stuff here. So I said, okay, I couldn't get a shot. I run back upstairs to the fifth. She's on the fifth floor landing. She jumps on me and she's hysterical. Oh my God. So people in the building out in the hallway that we live on the fifth floor, they all started running out. What happened? What happened? I'm grabbing her bloody. She calling my name. Kenny, Kenny, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we goes, I'm high, because my high is blown now, man. I'm like, my nerves shaking. And so next thing you know, I comes into the house. My mom's jump up. And the next thing you know, my brother jump up. He said, what's going on? What you do? What happened? This girl had so much blood coming from her. When you came down the hallway, her hands slid up. It was blood all on the wall. And so to myself, I'm saying, God, my mother said, what is going on? What happened? She nervous. I said, call the ambulance. Call the police. Call the police. She just hysterical. I couldn't calm her down, because I believed that this man was going to rape her once he get up there. And she was going to rape my friend. And then her hands would be, all that stuff. So we cuts on the bathtub. Water. I said, no, cut on the faucet because the blood coming out. Put it underneath the bathtub. So we go in the bathtub. They put the cold water. Before I went, within 2 seconds, ambulance was there, the fire department. They had police everywhere. They came up to there, the people in the hallway. Man, they was coming there. They was questioning us. The ambulance moved me out the way. My nerve was so bad. My high went. My mother, when her rollers on, they said, what is going on here? And they began to take her and they put her up and they picked her up in the wheelchair. She going, they wrapped her fingers up in the bathroom, whatever. And she, as I'm standing on the side talking to the police, she's crying and she crying. She said, thank you so much, Kitty Day. I said, no, take her. They trying to rush her because they got to get her to the hospital. And they takes her down and man, At that time, my house was full of reporters, I mean cops and stuff like that. So I was explaining to them what happened, and I'm like paranoid now. I'm thinking I left my blunt on the table and the police right there, and I'm like, I mean my little weed. So I ain't pay that no mind, but you know at that time I was looking at that. But anyway, I was full of blood. My mother, my hands was all jacked up. But the more of the story was that she went to the hospital. But it's a part two to the story, and I'm gonna be sharing it on TikTok tomorrow. If you come, I'll be sharing it on TikTok tomorrow, and you can hear part two. I want you to share this video. It's very important that women be careful out there, because it's a part two to this. That I'm gonna tell you how this story ends. And it's gonna be it's gonna come out to a good part, but I can't tell you everything. It's some stuff, part two with this. Y'all tune in on the Storyteller by the Dancing Preacher. Come tune in tomorrow. You hear the next part. And we also I'll be sharing some more stories, some good stories and some stuff. This is my new video that the no videos that this is a new platform that I'll be sharing some storytelling about my addiction, sobriety in the projects. Okay, that's it. I gotta go. And I hope this video can be shared. I tried to share it earlier, but it was short, and I don't know what I did because I wanted to share. It didn't go long enough. It was I don't know what happened. It cuts off. So if you all got the video, maybe you can share. But anyway, come on back on this platform, where the Dancing Preacher tells some more stories about sobriety in the hood. Okay, I'm out of here. Good night, guys. Y'all take care. See you tomorrow. I see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.